In January 2025, Microsoft stood in front of the world and made a promise: $80 billion. That's what they would spend in a single year building AI data centers across the United States and Europe. It was the largest infrastructure bet in corporate history. By March, they had quietly walked away from 2 gigawatts of those plans. No press conference, no apology, no CEO went on TV to explain. It just stopped. And Microsoft isn't alone. Amazon, Google, Meta, the most powerful companies on Earth, have all done the same thing: pulled back. Quietly, while publicly insisting nothing has changed. Today, we're going to find out exactly why. Because the answer isn't just a tech story. It's a story about the biggest financial bet in modern history, and what happens when that bet starts to crack. To understand what's happening, we need to go back to 2022. The moment ChatGPT launched and changed everything. Within weeks, every major tech company made the same calculation. Whoever builds the most AI infrastructure wins. Not next year, not eventually, right now. So they spent massively. Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and Meta committed over $300 billion to AI data centers in 2025 alone. That's more than the entire GDP of Portugal. More than NASA's entire budget for the next 150 years. More than 500 data center facilities went into planning or construction worldwide. Towns in Ohio, Wisconsin, North Dakota, they rezoned land for these campuses. Workers were hired. Forests cleared. Roads built. The investment bank TD Cowen called it the largest coordinated technology build-out in history. Wall Street celebrated. Nvidia's stock went to the moon. This wasn't speculation. This was supposed to be a sure thing. So what went wrong? It wasn't one thing. It never is. It was 3 problems hitting at the same time. In June 2024, a partner at Sequoia Capital published a number that made Wall Street uncomfortable. He calculated that for AI companies to simply break even on their infrastructure spending, they'd need to generate $600 billion in new revenue. Every year, $600 billion. Annually, to just break even. At the time, OpenAI, the most successful AI company in the world, was making about $4 billion a year. ChatGPT, at $200 a month for premium access, was not profitable. A single query to their most advanced model cost up to $1,000 in computing power. By 2025, that gap had grown. Bain & Company estimated the revenue shortfall would reach $800 billion by 2030. The money being spent on infrastructure and the money coming back in were moving in opposite directions. Here's something nobody talked about when tech companies were announcing these mega projects. You can't turn on a data center without electricity. And the grid wasn't ready. By April 2026, nearly half of all US data centers planned for that year were canceled or delayed. Not because the money ran out, because the transformers, switchgear, and power batteries needed to run them didn't exist. Imports of high-power transformers from China surged from fewer than 1,500 units in 2022 to more than 8,000 by 2025. The West had quietly offshored the manufacturing of the very components now needed to power its AI revolution. Ireland banned new data centers near Dublin to prevent blackouts. A court in Chile suspended a Google facility after discovering it would extract 7 billion liters of water per year. Data center cancellations quadrupled from 6 projects in 2024 to 25 in 2025. Then came January 2025. A Chinese AI lab called DeepSeek released a model that matched, and in some benchmarks beat, the most advanced American AI systems at a fraction of the cost. The assumption behind every data center being built was that you needed massive, expensive compute to build frontier AI. DeepSeek proved that assumption was wrong. Overnight, every GPU cluster, every leased server farm, every square foot of data center under construction had to be rejustified, and many couldn't be. Now here's where it gets interesting, because what these companies are doing right now is not what they're saying they're doing. Microsoft canceled a $1 billion plan to build 3 data centers in Ohio. It paused talks in Indonesia, the UK, Australia, Illinois, North Dakota, and Wisconsin. It walked away from 2 gigawatts of US and European projects, enough electricity to power a city of 1.5 million people. And their official statement? Quote, "While we may strategically pace or adjust our infrastructure in some areas, we will continue to grow strongly in all regions. Our plans to spend over $80 billion on infrastructure this fiscal year remain on track." Both things are simultaneously true, and neither fully explains what's happening. What analysts at TD Cowen discovered through supply chain checks tells a more complete story. Microsoft had overcommitted massively in the AI rush. Its leased capital expenditures jumped 6.7 times in just 2 years. Lease obligations totaled roughly $175 billion. And crucially, Microsoft had built much of this capacity specifically to serve OpenAI's training workloads. Then OpenAI announced the Stargate Initiative, a $500 billion data center project that would be built with SoftBank and Oracle, not Microsoft. Microsoft was no longer OpenAI's exclusive cloud provider. The demand signal it had built all that capacity for had moved. And Google and Meta quietly stepped in to claim the abandoned leases. You might be thinking, this is a tech company problem, a Silicon Valley problem. What does it have to do with me? More than you might expect. Because when hyperscalers cancel data centers, the consequences move through the economy like a stone dropped in water. The supply chain squeeze AI data center build-outs crowded consumer categories out of memory and storage supply. Memory costs rose roughly 5 times. Storage costs tripled. Every laptop, phone, and server you buy is more expensive because of this arms race. The towns left behind the communities that rezoned land, trained workers, and built roads around these projects are now sitting on infrastructure for a tenant that never arrived. This is a pattern economists recognize from the dot-com bust of 2001. Overbuilt, then abandoned. The jobs paradox: tech companies fired 142,000 workers in 2026, while simultaneously committing to $700 billion in AI infrastructure. Amazon's own engineers testified at a Seattle City Council hearing that their company was spending $200 billion on data centers while cutting 30,000 jobs. The machines were being built. The people were being let go. The NVIDIA equation. NVIDIA became the most watched proxy for the entire AI bet. If data center spending really slows, the chip demand story collapses. And with it, trillions in market capitalization that tens of millions of ordinary investors hold in their retirement accounts. So the question everyone is trying to answer, is this a healthy correction in a real technological revolution? Or is it the first visible crack in the largest financial bubble since 2008? The bull case: the optimists argue that every major technology deployment, railroads, electricity, the internet, went through exactly this phase. Overbuilding, correction, then a boom built on realistic foundations. Google and Meta snapping up Microsoft's abandoned leases suggests the race isn't over, the leader just stumbled. And the numbers still suggest demand is real. Google's cloud backlog nearly doubled to $462 billion in a single quarter. The problem may not be that AI isn't needed, but that too many companies built too much of the wrong kind, too fast. The bear case: the pessimists point to the Alibaba chairman, who said publicly in early 2025, "I am astounded by the numbers being thrown around. I'm seeing the beginning of some kind of bubble." He wasn't a tech skeptic. He ran one of the world's largest AI companies. And Bain's numbers are hard to ignore. By 2030, AI companies will need $2 trillion in annual revenue to fund projected data center demand. They're on track to fall $800 billion short. History has seen this before. The telegraph, the railroad, the dot-com boom. Every transformative technology produced a speculative excess before it delivered its real value. The technology survived. Many of the investors did not. Here's what we know for certain. The most expensive infrastructure build in human history is pausing. Not because AI isn't real, not because the technology failed, but because the companies betting everything on it built faster than the grid could power it, faster than the economy could monetize it, and faster than their most important partner could absorb it. The data centers are being canceled quietly, using the same PR playbook as always. No announcement, a statement that contradicts itself, and a stock price that dips 1% before moving on. The question isn't whether this is happening. It is. The question is whether we're watching a temporary recalibration or the moment before the music stops.